That's a picture of a really cool sculpture that illustrates new birth. So, what I want to talk to you about is, why do Christians get it wrong? Why do we get it wrong? I want to tell you why we get it wrong. Because we manipulate Scripture and make it say what we want it to say, rather than allowing what the author intended to determine the meaning of the passage. Now, there are two words I want you to know, and those are biblical eisegesis and biblical exegesis. Biblical eisegesis is when we bring our foundational beliefs, our pre-understandings, and our cultural norms, and we impose them on biblical text to make them mean what we want them to say, rather than allowing the author's intent to determine the meaning of the passage. Biblical exegesis means coming to the Scripture humbly, considering many things: literary genre, historical context, various factors like that, in order to determine what the author's intent was, how the audience understood what the author said, and in that way determining the actual meaning of the biblical passage. Now, I want to talk about biblical eisegesis, or the way in which we manipulate Scripture. Three very popular and destructive tendencies in the church today. First is that of cherry-picking Scripture. One takes a Scripture from here, another from over there, draws in a few more, and creatively arranges them to formulate an argument that is not genuinely present in Scripture, but actually artificially created. A second way biblical eisegesis plays out is people do not read biblical passages as they were written. For example, some passages were written as poetry, while others are historical narratives, and yet others convey definite, clear arguments and plain teachings. Just want to interject here concerning literary genre. This one is complicated. I'll try to be concise. Many of the authors in the New Testament spent considerable time in their letters developing one or two key arguments. And we are unfair to those texts when we pull two or three scriptures out of those arguments and make a proclamation based on them, rather than viewing those few scriptures in the full context of a long, drawn-out, and sometimes even complex argument. Reject the tendency of picking only a few scriptures out of a broad argument and making a claim based on those scriptures. You have seen this happen. A final way Christians get it wrong is they focus and major on passages or texts that they agree with, that they like, or that are easy to obey, while completely ignoring difficult passages that are hard to obey. That is just completely being unfair to the Scriptures, and that leads to terrible consequences, false teaching, so on and so forth. So look, we get it wrong when we manipulate Scripture and make it say what it doesn't say. Let's be humble. Let's search the Scriptures. Let's be honest. Let's look at the full arguments. Let's consider literary genre, figures of speech, etc. And in that way, we will practice biblical exegesis and we will get it right.